Hello dear students, welcome back to your science classes. How are you all? I hope you all are healthy and doing well. So students, I'm your science educator again here with a new chapter, which is chapter number 6, cooking food and preservation. So we all know our mothers do so many cookings in a day, right? From starting morning to end at the morning, at end in the night, they all do what? Cooking. But sometimes what happen if some kind of food it's left over, so at that time we need to preserve it so it will not get waste. Okay, so in this class we are going to learn about how we can make food and how we have to preserve that food for long duration. So all of you, are you ready? Let's get started. But before starting this chapter, have a look on your learning objectives. So first of all, we have to understand cooking of food. Why do we cook food? Raw food need extra care. Basic methods of cooking: baking, roasting, grilling, boiling, steaming, and frying. Preservation of food: freezing, drying, salting, adding sugar, pickling, canning, aesthetic packaging. And in the last, we are going to learn about the wasting of food, how we have to avoid this. Okay, so let's get started. Cooking of food. So, what we understand by cooking of food? We have different types of food. Some food items are cooked and some are eaten raw. Why do we cook food? So we cook food for cooking makes the food soft and tender. Cooking makes the food tasty. Cooking bring out the good flavor in the food item. Cooking makes the food more appetizing. Cooking makes the food easily. Cooking makes the food easily digestible, and cooking makes the food safe as it kills germs. So, what we understand here, why do we need food and why do we cook food? So, basically, for energy, right? For any kind of energy, if we do our day to day work functions, we need energy, and that is why we eat food. First thing is clear. Now, for example, I have a brinjal and I want to eat that. But without cooking, the taste of that brinjal, it's not good. If I put spices on it and I try, so I make the brinjal for me. So what happened? It get soft and tender for me. It also, the taste of the brinjal increases, and the flavor, the good flavor of the brinjal which is missing and in the form of raw brinjal, it gets outside, and cooking makes the food appetizing. This cooked food will appetize, means easily digestible for me, and cooking makes the food safe as it kills germs. So many germs are there in a raw brinjal, but when I cooked it, I just kill that germs. So simple. What we have to learn here, that for easy digestivity, for easy digestible process, for soft and tender food, and for taste, for good flavor, and a germ-free meal, we need cooking. Okay, and that's why we cooked our food. But it doesn't mean that all type of vegetables are getting in the cooking process. Some of the vegetables we can eat raw as well. But this is the importance of cooking in our life, that for increasing the flavor, we need to cook our food. Next, we move forward. Raw foods need extra care. Okay, why this is? Because raw fruits, nuts, and some vegetables are eaten raw. Vegetables that are eaten raw, particularly as salad, are tomato, onion, cucumber, cabbage, radish, carrot, beetroot, and green chilies. Raw vegetables are fresh and ripe. Raw vegetables and fresh ripe fruits are good for health and teeth. So what we understand here, that without cooking we can also eat some kind of vegetable and some kind of fruits. Mainly those vegetables which is eaten raw, those are our salad item. For example, tomato, onion, cucumber, beetroot, cabbage, radish. These are the vegetables which we eat raw, just because of that, because we are using it as a roughage. And further, we understand more about the fruits. Fruits are also eaten raw basically, and the raw material, the raw salad and the raw fruits, it's good for our health and teeth. They provide many vitamins as well as good exercise for the gums. Now, before eating fruit and vegetables should be thoroughly washed with clean water. This should be washed before peeling the skin. So what we understand, because we are eating vegetables and these fruits raw. So first of all, we need to wash it properly so the germs present on these vegetables and fruits will remove. And Unripe and overripe fruit should not be eaten, and always keep in mind that unripe and overripe fruit should be avoided by us. So these are the two things we have to consider while we eating any kind of raw vegetable or any kind of raw fruit. Now we move forward. Now other things which we have to consider while we eating raw vegetables and fruit: cut the fruit and vegetables just before eating. They lost vitamins if we cut and left in the open for long time. So always keep in mind, if you want to eat an apple, so always consider that open at that time particularly and eat that and finish that process. Don't wait for after so long time. First you cut it, now then you wait for 1 hour, 2 hour, and then you are going to eat it. If you're doing this, so what will happen? The germs, the microorganism will uh, jump on your apple and it will ruin your taste. Next, cut fruit from vendors are harmful as they may contain junk. Always keep in mind that your fruit should be not cut by the vendors because they are harmful for you. Eat only fresh and seasonal fruits and vegetables. Always keep in mind that mango is a summer season fruit. So don't eat in winter because that is not natural food. It is then chemical processed food. Okay. So always keep in mind, always eat fresh and seasonal fruits according to the season. Next, we have basic methods of cooking. So what are the methods we have for the cooking? Baking. The first method we have baking. As the name suggests, baking refer as bread, cakes. These are the things we do with the help of baking. In baking method, food is cooked by placing the dish in an oven. Food cooked by baking includes bread, cakes, biscuit, pies, etc. Chapatis are baked. Some types of meat and few vegetables are also baked. So what we understand here, that baking is done with the help of an oven where we put a utensil under the oven, and the heat from all the sides, coming from all the sides, will help them to bake. And what are the dishes, what are the foods we made with the help of baking process? We make bread, cakes, biscuits, some kind of chapatis are also made with the help of baking process, and some kind of meat are also baked. Next we have roasting. Roasting involves cooking in an open dish in an oven or an or roasting involves cooking in an open dish in an oven or an open area. Roasting involves cooking in an open dish in an oven or open fire. Certain kinds of meats, kebabs, vegetables, and paneer tikka are cooked by roasting. So what we understand here, as you see the pictures here, that roasting, basically we have to roast. What will happen in this? We take a fire. In open fire, we put the utensils with the for example, you have ever seen the process of kebab making? So what they did, we have a needle and we put kebab inside this, and this needle will be shifted in between the fire, and it will result in the roasting process, and further your kebab is made. So vegetables, paneer tikka are also cooked by the process of roasting. Basically we roast the food. Okay. And how can we roast the food? While we put into the fire. Exactly, that's it. Now grilling. Grilling is the cooking for food directly below or above continuous source of heat. Grilling is used mainly to cook meat, but a few kinds of fruits and vegetables are sometimes grilled. So what does mean by grill? For example, if you ever seen your meat grill, or you can also see, it is relatable, not the whole process. Grilling, if you see the thela wala, okay, when he made tikkis, so what exactly he do? It's doing the grilling process. A little bit amount of the oil, and in that what they do, they boil the what they grill the meat. So this is the process of grilling. Now next we have boiling, and boiling is a very simplest process, and I hope so you understood it, as the name suggests, boiling. Okay. Boiling is cooking of food in an boiling water. Boiling is cooking food in boiling water which has a temperature of about 100 degrees Celsius. It is a common method of cooking vegetables and rice. So we all know that the minimum temperature we need for the boiling is 100 degrees Celsius. And in this temperature, what we do, while our water is boiled properly, we put potatoes, we put vegetables into this, and after some time our vegetables and potatoes will cook with the help of the boiling process. Next we have steaming. Steaming means we made the food with the help of steam. The one of the great example we have of the steaming food is your momos. Okay. In this we are not putting our food directly into the heat. We cannot make with the help of the oil. We just steam our food and it will cook. So Steaming is the process. Steaming is the best method of cooking. Food prepared by this method is soft. It is easily digestible. Steaming takes less time than boiling. It also kills the germs present in food. Steaming is mostly used to cook vegetable, idlis, momos, fish, etc. It means steaming is one of the best method because in this method we can make our food in less time. We don't have to wait for in boiling. First we have to boil our water, then we have to do this process, and also the food which is made with the help of steaming process is easy to digestible and soft. Also we understand this case steaming is mostly used to cook which what are the examples we have for steamed food: idlis, momos, vegetables and fish, etc. Next we generally use pressure cooker to cook food by steaming under pressure. It is generally used for those foods which require a long time to cook. Steam is not allowed to go out the idli. The lid is tightly closed. The steam inside builds up pressure and cooks the food. Vitamins are also not wasted. So what we understand here that our pressure cooker, it's also, we can say, in pressure cooker we cook the food with the help of the steaming process because our lid is closed, so all the steam it's under the cooker and it's create the further pressure that will be result into the CT and our food is made. With this process what we understand that vitamins are also not lost, and those food which take a lot of time to cook, with the help of steaming process they can done in the small amount of the time. Next we have frying. As the name suggests, frying means we have to fry something in a big bowl of oil. When we heat it and something we put inside this, and after we take it out, that is referred as your frying process. Frying involves cooking food in fat like ghee, butter or vegetable oil at a temperature of 190 degrees Celsius. Puris, kachoris, samosas, pakoras, vadas, chips, etc. are deep fried. Parathas are also prepared by shallow frying. So what we understand here that for frying we need a temperature which is greater than boiling, 190 degrees Celsius. Our water boil at the temperature of 100 degrees Celsius, but for frying we need 190 degrees Celsius temperature. And in this temperature what we do first, we do these processes in vegetable oil, in ghee or any kind of ghee you can use, or you can also choose butter. While we take a bigger bowl of ghee, oil, or you can say butter, and we heat it at the temperature of 190 degrees Celsius. After the temperature completion we put the samosas, pakoras, kachoris inside that oil, and further this will frying. And we also do the small process of it which is referred as shallow fry. Means we are not putting our whole object inside the oil, we are not putting our food inside the oil, but we just take a small amount of oil and we just fried it. Okay, for example, for shallow frying you have tikkis, for shallow frying you have parathas, for shallow frying these are the examples you have for these shallow frying. And for deep frying you have samosa, a very good example for the frying process. Next, now our food is made and now we have to focus how can we preserve our food. So preservation of food. Food gets spoiled if we do not take proper care. Some food items are easily perishable and some can stay long. Nuts and grains can be stored for months. Milk and meat stay for only 1 or 2 days. Without preservation, all food will eventually spoil if not preserved properly. So preservation of food is very necessary. So what we understand here, we cannot make food for a whole year and we just say, okay, fine, now we have to save it for a long year. So there are some food preservation time for each and every type of food item. If we are talking about the almonds, cashew, basically nuts, so they can be thus are those foods which we can store for a long time, for a month or for 2 months, for 3 months. But if we are talking about our milk, if we are talking about our meat, so it cannot be preserved, it cannot be stored for a long time. So at that time what we have to do, we have to use the methods of preservation. With the help of this we can increase the preservation time, we can increase the wasting time, we can increase the time period for these foods that they can preserve it. Okay, so basically we have to save our food for a long time. That is why we are using preservation of food. Preservation is generally means save food saving process, okay, for a long time according to their food items. Okay, now food spoils when microorganism, bacteria, molds and aids multiply in food and change the flavor and odor. Microorganism multiplies rapidly to produce toxins, poisonous chemicals. If the food is should if the food is spoiled, it should not be eaten. You may fall sick. There are some methods preserve food items and protect them from contamination. So first of all, the question is, ma'am, how our food gets spoiled? So we have some kind of microorganisms like bacteria, molds, yeast. These bacteria just reproduce themselves on our food, okay, because this is the food of microorganisms as well. So they also need food for their growth, right? So they just come on our food, and after get the food, they just multiply themselves to complete their energy process, okay. Further, when the microorganisms sit on our food, so it will result in the contamination process. And if we eat this type of food, if we eat contaminated food, so it will lead to our health. It will lead to our ill health, okay. And we might be fall sick by eating this contaminated food. So now we are going to learn about how can we stop the growth. How can we stop and how can we prevent the growth process of the microorganisms on our food. So the first method we have freezing, okay. As you see, while your mothers boil food, what they do, after some time they just put that milk bowl inside the fridge. Why they do that? Because some type of a microorganism may kill in the freezing process as well, because temperatures increases, so they cannot grow their growth. Now vegetables, meat, fish, poultry, chicken are among the main food items that are preserved by freezing at a very low temperature. Some ready to eat foods are cooked before freezing. Remember, once frozen food is taken out and heated, it should not be consumed immediately. So what we have to keep in mind, that as I already discussed with you, while we do the freezing process, so some kind of microorganism will not proceed with their growth, and the process of contamination will stop in between, okay. But if you are putting something inside freeze, and then you frozen food, we can say McCain's, and you fried it, you boiled it, or anything, the which process you have to apply on that food. But you have to stop yourself for 10 to 15 minutes, then you have to eat that food. If you eat it immediately, it will lead to your health, okay. Now food items can be preserved in a refrigerator at home. Because of the low temperature inside the refrigerator, milk and leftover cooked food can be stored for a day or two. Means, with the help of freezing process, we can store our leftover food, we store our milk for 1 or 2 days, otherwise it gets spoiled, okay. Raw vegetables and fruits when purchased in bulk can be stored in the refrigerator, but buy fresh and eat fresh should be the attitude. Always keep in mind, you can take, if a big amount, if you purchase the vegetable and fruits in bulk, then you can consider and then you can store them in fridge. But always keep in mind that buy fresh and eat fresh should be your attitude, because with this you can make yourself healthy, and you can take away the illness from your home. Now drying, how can we protect our food with the help of drying process? Drying is a good method of preserving food as it removes moisture and prevents Drying is a good method of preserving food as it removes moisture and prevent the growth of microorganism in food. With the help of moisture, the microorganism lead to reproduce themselves. When there is no moisture, so their growth will stop in between. That is why we use drying process. With this, we can stop the growth of microorganisms on our food. Now some vegetable and fruits like cauliflower, peas, beans, chilies, mangoes, bananas, chips, pads, and raisins, dates, and nuts, and many other food items are dried and stored. Grains and pulses are also dried to remove any moisture before storage. As a result, they can be preserved for months together. So as you seen in your home, you take rice for a whole month and you store it. Just because of that, because you first proceed with the drying process. First you dry your rice, first you dry your pulses, you dry your mangoes, and after drying process you can store your food for a 1 month, for 2 months, etc. and etc. Next we have salting process. So salt is a good preservative, okay. It stops the growth of harmful microorganisms. Foodstuffs such as fish, meat, and vegetables are coated with salt. Salted food lasts longer. So with the increased amount, with the taste of increased salt, because salt is sour, so in that environment, microorganism cannot maintain their growth for a long time. So they stop the growth of microorganism in between. That is why using salting process as a good method of preservation. And what are the things we preserve with the help of salting method? We have fish, meat and vegetables. What we do, we just caught it. We just put salt on it and we just rub it and we left it for 2 or 3 hours. So it will help them to for preserve for a long time. Next, adding sugar. How can we preserve our food with the help of adding sugar? Keeping the fruit in sugar syrup is another way of preserving it. We boil different kinds of fruit and prepare gems in a strong sugar syrup. Sugar syrup removes water from harmful microorganisms and kills them. So what we understand here, it means when we want to make jams, squashes, okay, then this adding sugar method will help us to preserve our fruits. Otherwise, if we have a ripe food, if we have a raw fruit, if we put the sugar on it and then we want to store it in freezer, it is totally waste of time, because it will not help you to preserve your foods, because this preservation, adding sugar preservation process is only for jams and squashes. What will happen when we add sugar in jams and squashes? It contain the moisture of it, and if there is no moisture, so there is no growth of microorganism, and it prevent the growth of microorganism. That is why we use sugar. We add sugar in squash and jams, so the moisture content of the squash and jams will reduce. Next we have pickling, and pickling is the one of the biggest example you have for the preservation, in which what we do, pickling means basically your achar. Pickling is preserving some vegetables and fruits in oil and salt. Lime, mangoes, chilies, carrots, cauliflower, turnips, etc. are cut into pieces. They are salted and seasoned in a lot of oil and pickles as preserved as pickles in jars and bottles. In oily and salted place, microorganisms could not reproduce themselves, and this is the one of the great example we have for preserving, because in each and every home what we see pickles jars, right? And in the big amount of oil and the salt, the microorganisms stop their growth and we can store our pickles for a long time. Okay, next we have canning. In canning process, what we do, we just stop the air. Okay, so canning is one of the common method of food preservation. Food items like fruit, vegetables are clean, cut into pieces and boiled to destroy microorganisms. They are put into sterilized cans or tins. The containers are made airtight and sealed. Fish is also preserved by canning. So what we understand here, while there is no connection between air and the food, so there is no connection the traveling of microorganism travel with the help of air inside our food. If we stop that passage, so what will result into this, that our food preserved for a long time. Okay, so this is the basic thing we have to understand in the canning process. Basically they are airtight container, and with this airtight container we can preserve our food for a long time of period, just because of that, because with the help of microorganism cannot travel on our food. Next we have nowadays canned rasgullas and gulab jamuns are very popular. Canned food stuffs last longer, same process. Okay, now we have aesthetic packaging. The food product is sterilized and then packed in sterilized container. This food is preserved without refrigeration. Aesthetically preserved food have a more shelf life, natural flavor, color, taste and texture, as well as more nutrients. So have you ever seen this aesthetic packaging of your milk? So what will result, and the juices, the real juice we have, right? So these are the juices, these are the milk we use as the expecting, with the help of expecting packaging. With this aseptic package, what we will do, in this we put some kind of chemicals. With the help of this, the prevention, it helps us in prevention of the microorganism, and we can use this type of food without refrigeration as well. Next we have boiling, and boiling we already learned that boiling kills almost all harmful organisms. Milk is boiled to save it from turning sour. So we already know that whenever milk is come in a home, my mother and your mother, the first work they do, they boil milk first, because with the help of boiling process we can kill and prevent the growth of the microorganism. Okay, next we have wastage of food. Food is precious, as we already know, right? Food is precious, we must not waste it. We must be very careful while storing, cooking and serving food to avoid waste. The following points must be kept in mind. We always keep in our mind that food is very, very, very precious for us, you and me. We all have a stomach, and this is the main purpose of our life, because if we don't have stomach, we are not here for, basically you need energy, right? And without food you don't have energy. Without food there is no your life, there is no any kind of life for the any kind of living organism. So always keep in mind you have to be show importance towards your food, and always keep in mind that you have to save it. Now what are the things we have to keep in mind? Food grains must be made moisture free before storage. They should be stored in a proper moisture free containers. In moisture free places the grains should be periodically exposed to the sun. Only the required quantity of food must be cooked. Surplus food will go to stale and become unfit for eating and hence wasted. Take only as much food in your plate as you can eat. So what we have to keep in mind while we following preservation method? So first of all, you have to follow each and every type of rule for the preservation. Otherwise, this preservation process will result into the wasting process of the food. If we have to save the grains and if we not to clear the if we do not dry it properly, to the whole grain will be wasted. So always keep in mind that you have to follow the preservation rules very carefully to save your food. Next thing, only made that much food that much needed by your family, that much needed by you. Otherwise a lot of food get waste, and this the wasting food, the leftover food, it's a waste for you because it not provide any kind of energy and vitamins and minerals in your body. Next, only take that much food in your plate that is your that much your capability. If you take two chapatis, always keep in your mind that you have to complete that two chapatis. If your capability is only for to eat one chapati, to always take one chapati, right? So always keep in mind these 3 points to save food and avoid yourself from the wastage of the food. So student, this is the end of your chapter. I hope so you like this chapter and understood it very well. Now I'm going to meet you in your next class. Till that, bye bye. Have a good day.